What is happening? This is Colin Andrews Egbert with True Oak Ventures and buying boring but beautiful businesses. And today we got somebody, our first fellow Buckeye, who is absolutely destroying it in the home services business, Mr. Vincent Yoder with Yoder Plumbing and HVAC. How are you, sir?
Good. How you doing, Colin?
Doing excellent, doing excellent. And yeah, as you saw, we got the OHIO coming from a nice win to start off the season as well, which is always good to start off with a W. But we're not talking sports here today. We are talking business. We're talking about buying businesses and growing them, which is something that Vincent has been able to do during his time, not just while he's been the one of the captains of it, but has seen a family business that has been doing it. So it's truly in his blood. And a lot of folks who get into the business, they go in and buy from somebody else, and that's a big piece of what the M&A world is. However, Vincent, he went to Ohio State, did the business school of entrepreneurship, and decided that he wanted to not try to do something by himself or start up and really follow the footsteps of his family. And so I wanted to kind of dive into that. Vincent, you saw a lot of businesses, you saw a lot of opportunities. I'm sure like the whole tech and the startup, and there's always a lot of buzz behind that. You decided to really stay focused with the plumbing business and have really grown it since then. And just wanted to give a little bit of feedback, and if you could share on that journey that you've had.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, like you said, I went to Ohio State University, dropped out before going into the business school and finishing out my degree because I actually got involved with the an entrepreneurship club, the Business Builders Club at Ohio State University, and we were bringing in entrepreneurs really successful that had been prior members and other people from Central Ohio and in the area that I was learning so much more from these guys and getting and coming across opportunities to partner that I was like, what the heck am I gonna do? How am I gonna do better finishing out going to business school? I was like, I'm having more fun learning from these guys, and so I dropped out and started a restaurant with a buddy. It's real similar to the BB Bop restaurant concepts that you see around everywhere. So like fast casual, like Chipotle, but Asian food version. And then partnered with another guy soon after that for a retail concept that employed people with developmental disabilities. Then started and tried several different other smaller ventures and eventually came back around to the family business. My father actually started an electrical business about 20 years ago here in Central Ohio. I actually, before I knew what consulting for equity was, I actually got my ownership in the family company by structuring a consulting for equity deal with my dad and set some metrics and hit them within 12 months. And that's how I got my ownership in the company. And then, yeah, that's kind of where I've put the bulk of my effort the past decade was back in the family business. And we've grown it where we've added plumbing, bought an HVAC company where we're all three service trades now and looking at other acquisitions as well to expand our reach in Central Ohio and then also in Cleveland and Cincy. But the bulk of the growth has come organically kind of the past 4 years, really.
Got it. And what has happened over the last 4 years to really get that organic growth? What was it that allowed you to have that type of growth?
Yeah, so we doubled in size like 4 or 5 years ago, and we had primarily been a new construction company up until that point. But we grew so quickly and we tried such large projects that it kind of forced us to see kind of where that whole path goes. Like you have to have a lot of capital and you're taking a lot of risks focusing on really large projects. So we decided at that point in time, like, hey, this is not how we want to continue to keep growing. Margins are getting squeezed. So we transitioned the business model to go towards service-based work, right, with a resi service focus. And really quickly, we were able to, like, I think triple our job flow within about 12 months and get a lot more of the smaller projects. And from there, we've just grown more and more in the service side of things and try to keep any new construction really to a minimal side and really only do specialty new construction that you can get your high margins with. And then in the past 2.5 years, 3 years now, adding the other two trades has been huge because you can always you open up a lot more customer lifetime value and getting in the door for one of the three and then being able to offer the other two and be a one-stop shop for consumers. It's kind of where more and more of the private equity is wanting to go and the industry as a whole is wanting to go as consumers want to deal with one service contractor instead of having to act like a GC themselves. If you can be a really high service service contractor where you have the majority of what a home needs in-house and you can handle projects that need more than one of the mechanicals, it's a huge value add to the consumer.
I get it. Let's actually talk about the different ones that you have, the HVAC, the plumbing. What's the third one that you have?
Electrical was
Electrical.
the first, yeah. Then we added plumbing and then HVAC, yeah.
Got it. Okay. So for those, and I would say that, individuals that are looking to get their first home service business, they're probably not going to have multiple niches, have HVAC and do plumbing. They're probably going to do plumbing first or do electrical first and then add on from there. That's what I see most folks doing. What would you say for those, now that you know the three specialties, inside and out, what would you say that somebody that is looking to do their first business, buy their first business, invest in their first business, out of those three, what if they're going to do their first one, what would you say would be the best one to do first? What would you recommend?
HVAC 100%. I mean, you can go with any of the three. If you can find any home service business of any of the three trades, if they do a really good job at resi service, like 80% plus of their business is resi service, and they have a scalable structure, go with them. You're going to find a lot more opportunities with HVAC. There's a lot more HVAC companies out there just because people need their units serviced twice a year for their fall and spring tune-ups in most climates. And just in general, the units need servicing a lot more. Like the comfort of your central air is so important to consumers. When they need something, they need something. So you can get good margins for replacements and repairs and everything. So HVAC is definitely the one that the majority of like private equity is focused on, and the industry as a whole, there's a lot more opportunity there. But if you can find any of the three trades that have a large contingent of their revenue coming in from resi service, and they have a good structure, they'd still be a good business to buy, and then you can tack on the other two. If you find a company that has all three and they haven't already been bought out by private equity, you found a unicorn, and get it as soon as you can if you can. But those are pretty darn rare, because usually if you have all three trades, you're at least a large enough size already too that you're going to command the private equity industry multiples, and you'd be hard pressed to find an opportunity of a seller that would be willing to sell for a much lower price or doing seller financing type of scenario.
Got it. Okay. So having multiple right off the bat, that would be great to find if you can indeed find that, but it's just very difficult because if they're going to be having multiple trades, then they're probably at a revenue level that is going to make them attractive to a lot of other parties as well. That's kind of what you're saying.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Excellent. And what are some of the other reasons why you like the residential part of it and not the commercial side? Is that I heard that the payment terms are also better as well. Is there other things that you really like about it?
Yeah, so like most of your like resi work, it's due on completion. Like you get paid when you finish up the job, which is huge. And then the frequency, the quantity of jobs. So you don't have any customer concentration when you're focused on resi service. You have to have really good lead flow funnels, have tons of different levers you can be pulling on all the time to fill in gaps, especially for HVAC in the shoulder seasons. Like right now, we're in the shoulder season for the Midwest, transitioning from needing AC work done to middle weather where hardly anything needs done. So you try to get a whole lot of tune-ups scheduled to maybe in about a month and a half, you start to get into your furnace work through the winter. So it just kind of depends on which trade you have. Like electrical, you can stay busy pretty much year round, but in general, it's harder just to build consistent lead flow from electrical unless you have a really strong local SEO presence that can generate a lot of consistent work over time, just because people need their electrical system serviced a lot less frequently. And then plumbing, that's pretty consistent year round. But the hardest thing with plumbing is the labor force. Like of the three trades, at least what we found, and through talking with other partners, the plumbing is the hardest trade to at least find existing skilled labor that allows you to grow with your lead flow. You have to have a really good kind of in-house training program if you want to grow with plumbing, which we still don't have a really good plumbing training program. So that's kind of stifled how fast we can grow our plumbing division. But in general, the amount of candidates that even have resumes posted on like your main construction industry job board, like Indeed, is like half to a third of what you would have electricians. And then HVAC is like twice as much as what you would have electricians available, even to tap in to people that and a lot of tradespeople don't have their resumes listed. I think like Brandon Vaughn says, it's like 30 to 35% of tradespeople actually even have their resumes posted on job boards or even using job boards. The other like 70% unlisted. And so you just have to build out a really strong brand, have a good referral network to try to bring in good high quality talent in general. And that's the truest for plumbing, at least from what we've seen.
Got it. So growing is one of the biggest challenges that you've seen. with plumbing specifically is hiring additional folks. How fast would you be able to grow? Like if there was an unlimited supply of trained, talented plumbers, would that really be able to put some firepower in your growth? Like, is that a big piece to the constraints of growing a plumbing company?
Yeah, for sure. Like plumbing, the amount of work, like lead flow that you can bring in is kind of in between electrical and HVAC. And we've been able to dominate through like using local SEO, your standard advertising methods that are very scalable, like Google local service ads. Like as long as you build a good reputation over time, answering the phone right away and being very responsive on those leads, they keep throwing you a ton more and you become a dominant player in your market. And then using social marketing as well. If you do it right, you can do it cost effectively. And then like building out a strategic referral network with other service providers, like real estate agents. So like you can build in, we got plenty of lead flow coming in with electrical, plumbing, and HVAC, but and we can fill the manpower needs on electrical and HVAC pretty readily. It's just the plumbing piece that's what we're seeing, at least to this point, is you just have to build a really good training program and get people fresh that have mechanical skills and build a really solid picture of how they can grow a great career as a plumber and training them in. There's one of our largest, actually our largest competitor in Central Ohio did just that. They started with plumbing. They had a great training program. They still do. And then they expanded to the other two trades. And they've used that training program for their plumbing to just be an absolute dominant player in resi service plumbing. They've even, I think, started expanding to some adjoining states. But yeah, that's kind of like what you need to do if you want to grow a plumbing company, at least in what it looks like in the Midwest. But when it comes to HVAC, you'll have no, like every time I hear people say like there's not enough skilled labor or they can't grow a skilled labor business, I think of like, well, like we figured out how to do it, and like with electrical and HVAC at least, because I think there's plenty of candidates out there that you can tap into on the electrical and the HVAC side. You just have to make sure you have a really solid company that people want to stick with, and you have a good culture. Like that's the most important thing, so you don't keep spinning your wheels replacing the same people over and over. And then the second thing is you really like there's some really cool, if you just A/B test a whole bunch of like between job ads, referral strategies, you can become like a branded employer to where people start asking and getting like an on deck list to try to work with your company. And once you kind of get to that place after about 12 to 24 months of really focusing on that, then the hiring piece becomes not an issue, and then you just got to try to then the main issue becomes how do we grow wisely, not too fast, and break things? How do you make sure you have the next layer of leadership in place and the next layer of leadership in place and the processes in place to not break things and adding too many guys too quickly?
Got it. And so obviously training, hiring, that's a challenge. What are some of the other challenges when it comes to HVAC and electrical when it comes to growth? What have you found and how have you been able to get past that?
I think I'd say like with electrical, I think because we have such a large contingent, the main thing we're focused on with electrical and our electrical service is making sure that we don't grow too fast and we continue to build out those processes and leadership to not disrupt the culture. So that's the main thing that we focus on with electrical. The main thing with HVAC is that's our newest trade. I mean, we've only had it for I think almost 2 years now, and we only started with essentially an independent and an owner operator that we bought. He wasn't somebody who had experience growing and scaling an HVAC company. So we've been kind of learning as we've gone what it takes to grow an HVAC company. But we found that like HVAC is the easiest to grow in terms of adding manpower. And the main thing you need to focus on is your KPIs and having consistent lead flow, good KPIs that follow after good, consistent lead flow gen for replacements. Having enough replacement opportunities all the time for your sales guys is huge so that they don't leave in the shoulder seasons, because you're always going to have shoulder seasons, especially in the Midwest, where you have like a month and a half to 2 months where it is dead, where the majority of consumers don't necessarily have any issue with their units because they're hardly being used. And so you really have to focus hard on getting those sales guys opportunities enough during those times where they don't look for golden opportunities elsewhere, or at least give them tons of opportunities during the non-shoulder seasons to where they make a really good commission otherwise. And really, like our business coach, he has a lot of experience in especially the HVAC industry, and he has some of the best in class clients across the country on the East Coast and West Coast mainly, and a couple of us in the Midwest, where like HVAC is the best home service business to be in terms of like how much you can grow and scale in your top line and even your margins because of the high ticket that HVAC replacements command and just the amount of lead flow that you can get in a market and the amount of money that somebody can make becoming an HVAC salesman. I've thought many a time, like, man, if I was starting again back in college, like I would get in and become an HVAC salesman because those guys are making, they can make, like, I know some guys in our network that are making easy 300 to 400K a year, like just off their commissions, and like no base pay, just because they have such a good conversion rate, at least 65%, and they're getting the margins that they need, and their employer is giving them consistent lead flow, and you can make a lot of money as an HVAC salesman. But yeah.
Any last tips for somebody that's looking to buy a business in the home services that they should look at, that they should be aware of? What would you say? Any last, final ideas for somebody?
Yeah. So the home service trades are like the one of the more popular segments that I've seen grow the past couple years, especially in Dealmaker. A lot of people are interested in getting into the construction trades, especially people coming over from real estate experience. But like the number one like thing you got to make sure you have is if you yourself don't have a lot of experience in a home service trade, then you definitely got to have an operator or a partner that comes in that does, because there's so many unique pieces. Just understanding the culture in general that is huge in like not just being able to keep the business at the size it's at, but being able to grow it. The construction industry labor is notoriously very protective of what they're used to. Like there's not a whole lot of people in the construction trades that are super tech forward and change forward. They're like, hey, just give me a tool belt and let me get shit done and be done with it. I'll be done with my day. And so it's really hard to like change culture, change mindsets, and get a workforce that is like more of a customer service driven operation that really looks for opportunity and is trying to do more than just collect a paycheck. So if you have somebody with experience like building a team and growing a team, that's huge. And like being able to not just buy the business, but then be successful thereafter to actually grow and scale it.
Got it. No, it's great tips, great thoughts. Well, Vincent, thank you very much for everything that you shared. I know that this is, somebody that's going out and looking to buy, invest in a business in home services. There's a lot of questions, and what I did in any type of new business that I've looked at buying or investing in, I've always looked at, who's been there, who's done that. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Follow those that have already have blazed the path, and you've definitely blazed that path. So thanks for spending some time with us today. We'll definitely get you back on another one in the future and hear more about your growth and the success that you're having. So thanks again, Vincent. And for everyone that has been watching this, thank you for attending, and mad respect for you making the most out of learning and figuring this out so that you make the right moves when you want to buy your own boring business, as we say. But in reality, nothing's boring when it comes to business. It's really quite the challenge, and the opportunities are there along with it. So Vincent, thank you very much. We'll talk to you soon, everybody.